Ariana Cole stepped off the transport plane at Langley Air Force Base, the morning sun glinting off her flight suit. She pulled the straps of her bag tighter across her shoulders and took a deep breath. It was her first day at one of the most elite fighter wings in the United States Air Force. At 27, she was older than most rookies, but she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had fought her way through every obstacle life had thrown at her. Her training had been rigorous, demanding, and exhausting, yet she had emerged at the top of her class. The Air Force brass had high hopes for her, but Ariana knew better than to trust anyone's judgment. Even as she walked toward the main hangar, she felt the stares of the seasoned pilots. They were a mix of skepticism, curiosity, and, in some cases, outright mockery. Two veteran pilots, Hendricks and Calvin, were leaning casually against the edge of the tarmac, laughing quietly among themselves. Their eyes followed her, sharp and assessing, and Ariana could feel the weight of their judgment even before a word was spoken. "Looks like the Air Force's idea of diversity finally showed up," Hendricks muttered to Calvin, loud enough for a few nearby mechanics to hear. Calvin chuckled. "She won't last a week in the F-22, but she can't handle high-G maneuvers." Ariana kept walking, her jaw tight, but her mind was calm. She had heard whispers like this her entire career, people questioning her abilities, her resolve, even her presence in the cockpit. She had been doubted countless times, from her very first flight simulator session in college to her final check ride at the academy. And yet, she had consistently proven her critics wrong. She had trained herself to thrive under pressure, to remain focused when others were laughing or panicking. Inside the hangar, the smell of jet fuel and machine grease filled the air. Rows of F-16s gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights, but Ariana's eyes were drawn to the F-22 Raptors stationed at the far end. They looked sleek, powerful, and untouchable, almost intimidating. She had read every manual, memorized every control, and watched countless hours of training footage, but nothing could fully prepare a pilot for the first time climbing into the cockpit of a top-of-the-line fighter. Her first task was simple on paper: report to her flight supervisor, Lieutenant Torres, and get assigned to a training sortie. But Ariana knew the real challenge was the unspoken trial she faced every day, the silent scrutiny of those who doubted her. Lieutenant Torres, a friendly and perceptive officer in his mid-30s, greeted her warmly. "Ariana Cole, welcome to Langley. Heard a lot about you. Don't mind the chatter, some of the old guard takes time to adjust to new talent." Ariana nodded, offering a polite smile. "Understood, sir. I'm ready to get to work." Torres led her to the briefing room where the other pilots were gathered. The room buzzed with chatter, laughter, and the low hum of confidence. Ariana felt eyes on her from every corner. Some glanced curiously, others dismissively. She knew she had to assert herself without saying a word. In moments like these, actions spoke louder than introductions or credentials. During the briefing, Hendricks and Calvin exchanged smirks when Ariana asked a few technical questions. "Hope she knows what she's talking about," Calvin muttered under his breath, loud enough for a few pilots nearby to catch. Ariana ignored it. There was no point in arguing. Her focus was on absorbing the flight plans, wind patterns, and tactical scenarios. When the briefing ended, Ariana made her way to the flight line. She ran through mental exercises, visualizing each maneuver, imagining the feeling of the F-22 beneath her hands, responding to every input. While other rookies might have felt intimidated by the reputation of the aircraft or the sneers of veteran pilots, Ariana found clarity in preparation. The jet didn't care who she was. It responded to skill, precision, and timing. She reminded herself that every great pilot, male or female, started at this point. Uncertain, scrutinized, underestimated. Her first interaction with the flight crew was a subtle test. She needed to demonstrate competence without arrogance. She checked the aircraft systems, verified fuel levels, and ran through the pre-flight checklist meticulously. Even small mistakes could be noticed and amplified in an environment like Langley. Every action had to convey confidence, even when nerves threatened to tighten her chest. As she worked, Hendricks approached, arms crossed. "Need any help, rookie?" he said, voice dripping with sarcasm. Ariana didn't flinch. "I've got it covered," she replied calmly. No tremor in her voice, no hint of intimidation. Hendricks raised an eyebrow, unsure whether to laugh or walk away. She didn't give him the satisfaction of either. By late afternoon, Ariana had completed her first solo familiarization flight in an older training jet. The supervisors noted her precision and smooth handling. "Not bad for a first day," Lieutenant Torres said, giving her an encouraging nod. Ariana smiled faintly but kept her eyes on the instruments. It wasn't about praise, it was about performance, and today was only the beginning. Back in the hangar, Ariana reflected on the day. The skepticism, the whispers, the outright mockery, it all fueled her determination. She knew that the journey ahead would be difficult, that earning the respect of the base's elite pilots would not come overnight. But Ariana had always thrived under challenge. She thrived when others doubted her, when they assumed she lacked the grit or skill to succeed. She reminded herself of every grueling simulator session, every sleepless night studying flight manuals, every moment she had pushed her body and mind to the limit. Ariana's resolve was simple. She didn't need to prove herself in words. She only needed one thing, the chance to fly the F-22. And when that opportunity came, she would show the entire base exactly what she was capable of. Not just skill, not just talent, but mastery, focus, and an unshakable calm in the face of doubt. As the sun set over Langley, casting long shadows over the rows of aircraft, Ariana stood at the edge of the tarmac, gazing at the F-22 Raptors. They were beautiful, powerful, intimidating, but to her, they were an extension of what she had always known about herself. She belonged in the sky, no matter what anyone said. And tomorrow, the real challenge would begin. For Ariana Cole, the journey from being mocked and underestimated to proving herself on the most advanced fighter jets in the Air Force was only just starting. Every doubt whispered about her abilities would soon meet the harsh truth of her skill. The pilots who laughed today wouldn't see it coming, but the F-22, she knew, would respond to her in ways words never could. The following morning, Ariana Cole arrived at Langley Air Force Base with a mixture of anticipation and determination. She had spent the night reviewing flight manuals, studying maneuver diagrams, and visualizing every possible scenario she might face in the F-22 Raptor. While other rookies partied or caught up on sleep, Ariana had prepared herself for a day that could define her career. Her briefing began like any other, but the words that followed caught her off guard. "Ariana, you're assigned to an F-22 training sortie today," Lieutenant Torres said, his tone calm but firm. A ripple of murmurs spread across the room. The F-22 wasn't just any fighter jet. It was the most advanced air superiority fighter in the world, reserved for the most skilled and trusted pilots. Assigning a rookie to fly one was almost unheard of. A few veterans snickered. Hendricks, leaning against a console with Calvin beside him, whispered loud enough for others to hear. "They must have made a mistake. Rookie in an F-22, this is going to be fun." Calvin laughed quietly, shaking his head. Ariana kept her face neutral, carefully nodding their skepticism but refusing to give it power over her focus. She had expected doubt. She had always faced it. Lieutenant Torres pulled her aside, speaking quietly so only she could hear. "The jet doesn't care who's in the seat," he said, his eyes steady on hers. "It responds to skill, not confidence. Show them what I saw in you during training. Don't let anyone's assumptions define your flight." Ariana nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. This wasn't about showing off. It was about proving to herself that she belonged here. She had trained for this, endured rigorous simulations, and mastered every technical detail. Now, it was time to put that knowledge to the ultimate test. She made her way to the hangar where the F-22 awaited. The jet gleamed under the early morning sun, sleek and aerodynamic, almost predatory in appearance. Ariana ran her hands along the fuselage, appreciating the engineering marvel. For a rookie, it was intimidating, but for Ariana, it felt like a partner she had trained with her entire life. She ran through the pre-flight checklist meticulously, double-checking each system, fuel line, and instrument. One minor mistake could compromise the sortie, and she wasn't about to give anyone reason to doubt her skills. Hendricks and Calvin approached, casual but brimming with smug amusement. "Need a hand?" Hendricks asked, his smirk irritatingly confident. Ariana didn't flinch. "I've got it covered," she replied evenly, her voice calm and steady. There was no challenge in her tone, just certainty. Hendricks frowned slightly, caught off guard by her composure. Calvin muttered something under his breath but stayed silent, the tension between arrogance and capability beginning to shift subtly. Once in the cockpit, Ariana adjusted her seat, strapped herself in, and ran through the jet's control systems. She could feel the raw power of the F-22 beneath her fingertips, the responsiveness of the throttle, the subtle feedback from the control sticks, and the anticipation of the flight instruments. She mentally ran through every maneuver, every tactical scenario, and every emergency procedure she had memorized. Preparation was key. Confidence without preparation was useless, and Ariana knew it better than anyone. The tower gave her clearance for takeoff, and Ariana's heart beat faster, not from fear, but from the thrill of finally commanding a machine she had long respected. As she accelerated down the runway, the jet responded flawlessly to her inputs. The liftoff was smooth, almost serene, yet she could feel the raw power of the engines propelling her into the sky. For a moment, time seemed to slow. This was what she had trained for. This was why she had endured countless hours of drills, simulations, and mental preparation. As Ariana climbed to altitude, the control room monitors displayed her precision. Her maneuvers were measured and deliberate, high-G turns executed flawlessly, climbs and dives that required instinct as much as knowledge. For the first few minutes, Hendricks and Calvin watched with disbelief. They had expected hesitation, mistakes, maybe even panic, but Ariana was calm, calculated, and fluid. She began to execute more advanced maneuvers, testing the jet's capabilities. Rolls, loops, and sharp vertical climbs were handled with surgical precision. The F-22 responded as if it were an extension of her body, a seamless union of pilot and machine. Ariana felt a rush of satisfaction, not pride, but quiet acknowledgement that she was where she was meant to be. Her critics' doubts were irrelevant in the cockpit. Here, skill and focus were the only measures of worth. During the flight, Ariana practiced simulated dogfights, using her situational awareness to anticipate enemy movements. The veteran pilots in the control room had expected a conservative rookie, someone cautious and timid. What they saw instead was a pilot who could think 2 steps ahead, predict maneuvers, and exploit every advantage the jet offered. Each movement of the Raptor was precise, efficient, and intentional. Back on the ground, Ariana's landing was flawless. She taxied to the hangar, greeted by silence from Hendricks and Calvin. Even the tower crew seemed impressed, whispering among themselves. Ariana's calm demeanor never wavered, but inside she felt a surge of satisfaction. Today was a small victory, not for recognition, but for the quiet proof that she could rise above doubt and intimidation. Lieutenant Torres debriefed her afterward. "Excellent work today," he said, his tone sincere. "You've demonstrated instinct, control, and judgment beyond what we usually expect from a rookie. Keep this up, and you'll be flying in the elite squadrons before you know it." Ariana nodded, acknowledging the praise without arrogance. She didn't need it. Her measure of success was her own ability to meet and exceed the challenge. That evening, Ariana reflected on the events of the day. She had faced ridicule, doubt, and underestimation, yet she had emerged not just unscathed but stronger. She had flown the F-22, one of the most advanced and demanding jets in the world, and had shown skill, focus, and composure that even veteran pilots had failed to anticipate. Hendricks and Calvin, once so sure of their superiority, were silent in the mess hall as Ariana walked past, her presence commanding attention without a word. The whispers of doubt were slowly replaced with murmurs of curiosity and cautious respect. Ariana understood that today was only the beginning. The real test would come when she faced the elite pilots in real combat simulations. She returned to her quarters that night and reviewed the flight footage. Every turn, every maneuver, Every throttle adjustment was analyzed meticulously. Ariana was determined not to rest on a single successful sortie. She would continue to improve, to master the jet, and to prepare for the challenges ahead. Ariana Cole had entered Langley Air Force Base as a rookie dismissed by many. By the end of the day, she had taken the first step toward proving that skill, focus, and determination mattered far more than reputation or preconceptions. The F-22 had responded to her with precision and power, and in doing so, had already begun to rewrite the story her critics had written for her. Tomorrow, the real challenge awaited. Ariana knew it wouldn't be easy, but she felt ready. Every doubt whispered by others, every smirk and sneer, had only fueled her determination. The sky was her proving ground, and she intended to dominate it. The first day was complete, but her journey was only beginning, and Langley would soon learn that the quiet rookie could shock even the most seasoned veterans. The morning sun glinted off the sleek fuselage of the F-22 Raptor as Ariana Cole approached the aircraft. Today was different from yesterday. Yesterday had been about proving she could handle the basics, the familiar training maneuvers, the first flights that tested her nerves. Today, she would face something more, something that would truly test her instinct, precision, and ability to adapt in real time. Climbing into the cockpit, Ariana felt the familiar hum of anticipation coursing through her veins. She settled into the pilot's seat, adjusted the straps, and ran through the pre-flight checklist with meticulous care. Every switch, every gauge, every control surface was double-checked. She knew that any hesitation or mistake would not only be noticed but remembered. The veteran pilots, Hendricks and Calvin, were present in the control room, observing through live feeds and monitoring instruments. Hendricks leaned casually against the wall, arms crossed, a smirk plastered across his face. "She'll panic in the first high-G turn," he whispered to Calvin. Calvin laughed softly, confident in his prediction. Ariana had heard this sort of thing before. She had trained herself to ignore the noise, to focus only on the flight and the jet beneath her hands. With clearance from the tower, Ariana taxied down the runway. The F-22's engines roared as she pushed the throttle forward, the acceleration almost pressing her into the seat. Smoothly, she lifted off, climbing gracefully into the sky. Every movement was precise, every control input deliberate. For Ariana, the jet was no longer just a machine, it was an extension of herself. As she gained altitude, Ariana began running through advanced maneuvers, high-speed rolls, tight vertical loops, and sharp, high-G turns. Each maneuver required split-second decisions and perfect execution. The F-22, with its unparalleled agility and thrust vectoring capabilities, responded seamlessly. To an observer, it was as if the jet were anticipating her every thought, moving as one with her instincts. In the control room, the veteran pilots watched in silence. The smirks that had been so evident yesterday were gone, replaced with expressions of disbelief. Hendricks whispered almost to himself, "She's good, too good." Calvin nodded quietly, his earlier confidence fading with every maneuver Ariana executed flawlessly. The real test came when Ariana began a series of simulated tactical engagements. The exercise involved multiple scenarios, intercepting enemy aircraft, evasive maneuvers, and high-stakes target acquisition under pressure. Each scenario was designed to challenge even the most seasoned pilots. Ariana approached each with calm determination, executing strategies that combined textbook precision with instinctive decision-making. During one simulation, a hostile aircraft appeared on her radar. Ariana assessed its trajectory, anticipated its evasive moves, and countered with a calculated approach that allowed her to maintain positional advantage. She executed a series of maneuvers, using the F-22's superior agility and stealth systems to simulate an interception. The control room fell silent. Even Hendricks, who prided himself on his tactical knowledge, was clearly impressed. Ariana's mind was a blur of calculations, instincts, and decisions. She adjusted her speed, altitude, and angle of attack with the precision of a master chess player moving pieces across a board. Each movement of the jet was deliberate, each turn calculated to maximize efficiency and effectiveness. For Ariana, this was more than skill. It was flow, a state of complete focus where every decision was instinctual, yet deliberate. As she executed a tight vertical climb followed by a controlled descent, Ariana felt a surge of exhilaration. The jet responded perfectly, holding her trajectory with unerring stability. She made split-second adjustments to account for wind, altitude, and simulated enemy movements. Her body was tense but controlled, muscles coiled for precision, heart steady. The F-22, powerful and demanding, was perfectly synchronized with her actions. Back in the control room, the tension among the veteran pilots was palpable. They had expected hesitation, mistakes, panic, but there was none. Every maneuver Ariana executed was clean, deliberate, and precise. Hendricks muttered under his breath, "I've never seen a rookie handle a jet like this." Calvin, equally astonished, simply nodded, silent. The reality was settling in. They had underestimated her. Midway through the session, Ariana received instructions for a complex simulated dogfight. Two veteran pilots would engage her in maneuvers designed to test her defensive and offensive skills. Hendricks and Calvin, thinking this would be their moment to assert dominance, prepared for an easy victory. But Ariana anticipated every move. She executed defensive rolls, energy management maneuvers, and precise barrel rolls that kept her ahead of her opponents. The simulated combat reached its climax as Ariana maneuvered into a position that allowed her to tag her opponents using the Raptor's simulated weapon systems. Hendricks was the first to fall, caught off guard by Ariana's anticipation and precision. Calvin followed, attempting aggressive climbs and evasions, only to find Ariana already predicting his trajectory. The control room erupted in murmurs of astonishment. Ariana's silent, unassuming approach had transformed into undeniable mastery. By the end of the flight, Ariana had completed a series of maneuvers that even the veteran pilots would have struggled to execute flawlessly. She returned to Langley, the F-22 responding seamlessly to her precise landing. The hangar was quiet as she taxied in, the weight of her performance settling over everyone present. The whispers, smirks, and ridicule of yesterday had vanished, replaced with a reluctant acknowledgement of her skill. Lieutenant Torres met her as she exited the cockpit. "Outstanding work today," he said sincerely. "You flew with precision, anticipation, and composure that exceeds expectations for even experienced pilots. Keep this up, and you'll be among the elite in no time." Ariana nodded, acknowledging the praise without ego. She didn't fly for recognition. She flew because she belonged in the sky. Later that evening, Ariana reviewed the footage of her flight. Every maneuver, every adjustment, every split-second decision was meticulously analyzed. She noted areas for improvement, not because she had failed, but because mastery was an endless pursuit. She knew that one flawless flight did not define her career. It was the beginning of a journey, a path that would challenge her abilities, test her resolve, and ultimately define her as a pilot. Meanwhile, news of Ariana's performance spread quickly among the base. Younger recruits whispered about the rookie who had flown the F-22 with unmatched skill. Even some veterans, previously skeptical, began to regard her with cautious respect. Hendricks avoided eye contact when she passed, a silent acknowledgement that he had misjudged her capabilities. Calvin remained silent, too stunned to articulate his thoughts. Ariana understood that the path ahead would not be easy. There would be new challenges, more complex exercises, and the inevitable scrutiny of those who still doubted her. But she also knew that skill, preparation, and composure were the keys to success. The F-22 had responded perfectly to her commands, and she had proven, at least to herself, that she could rise above doubt and expectation. As the sun set over Langley, Ariana stood by the runway, watching the remaining F-22s glint in the fading light. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction, not from the attention or praise, but from the quiet understanding that she had taken a significant step toward her goals. The sky was her domain, and she had begun to claim it, one precise maneuver at a time. Ariana Cole had entered Langley Air Force Base as a rookie overlooked and underestimated. By the end of the day, she had demonstrated skill, composure, and instinct far beyond what anyone had expected. The F-22 had responded to her as no one thought possible, and the pilots who doubted her would soon learn that underestimation was a mistake they would regret. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more complex simulations, advanced tactics, and the first encounters with elite pilots who had once dismissed her. Ariana was ready. She had flown the most advanced fighter jet in the world, and she had shown that she belonged. The journey from rookie to legend had begun, and Langley would soon witness a pilot unlike any they had seen before. The morning at Langley Air Force Base began with a tension that was palpable in the briefing room. Ariana Cole, fresh from her flawless F-22 flight the previous day, was now scheduled for a simulated dogfight exercise. The veterans Hendricks and Calvin were assigned as her opponents. They had scoffed at the idea of a rookie matching their experience and skill. To them, today would be an easy display of superiority. But Ariana had trained for this moment for years, and she knew that skill and preparation could overcome any assumption or underestimation. As the briefing began, Lieutenant Torres outlined the parameters of the exercise. Each pilot would take off, engage in simulated combat maneuvers, and attempt to tag the others using the aircraft's training systems. The control room buzzed with quiet anticipation. Some younger pilots whispered excitedly about the rookie's previous performance. Hendricks smirked, exchanging a glance with Calvin. "She's in over her head," he whispered, confident the rookie would falter. Ariana remained calm, her expression unreadable. She had faced doubt and ridicule before, and she knew that today's success depended on focus, not reaction. She approached the F-22 with steady determination, performing her pre-flight checks with precision. The sleek jet responded perfectly, as if aware that its pilot was more than capable of commanding its power. Once airborne, Ariana climbed into a position that allowed her to observe Hendricks and Calvin without immediately engaging. She analyzed their flight patterns, noting tendencies and anticipating maneuvers. This wasn't just instinct, it was careful calculation. Every high-speed turn, every altitude change, every throttle adjustment was observed and processed in milliseconds. Ariana had mastered situational awareness to a degree few rookies could achieve. Hendricks initiated the first engagement, banking sharply to gain an advantage. Calvin followed, attempting to flank Ariana from the opposite side. Both assumed that she would react predictably, that their experience would allow them to dominate. But Ariana's training and instinctive anticipation enabled her to stay several steps ahead. She executed a rapid barrel roll, evading Hendricks while simultaneously positioning herself to tag Calvin. The control room erupted in quiet gasps as her movements were displayed on the monitors. Hendricks attempted an aggressive climb, banking to take Ariana by surprise. Ariana anticipated the maneuver before it happened, adjusting her flight path subtly and maintaining optimal energy. The Raptor responded effortlessly, its thrust vectoring allowing Ariana to execute precise turns that kept her ahead. Calvin, attempting to counter her, found himself outmaneuvered at every turn. The rookie who had been dismissed as inexperienced was now orchestrating a near-perfect engagement. Minutes into the simulation, Ariana executed a controlled vertical climb followed by a rapid corkscrew descent, placing herself directly behind Hendricks. In a matter of seconds, the simulated weapons system registered a hit. Hendricks's expression, visible in the cockpit feed, went from confident smirk to disbelief. Calvin, realizing he was next, attempted evasive maneuvers, banking sharply and pulling high-G turns. Ariana anticipated each movement, countering with precision. Within moments, both veteran pilots had been tagged. The control room was silent. The murmurs of disbelief grew louder as other pilots processed what they had just witnessed. Hendricks and Calvin exchanged tense, incredulous glances. They had underestimated her, assuming a rookie could not outthink, outmaneuver, or outperform them in a jet as advanced as the F-22. Ariana, calm and focused, had proven them wrong in every possible way. Ariana's training, preparation, and instincts had merged into a seamless flow. Each maneuver was deliberate yet instinctive, a blend of calculated strategy and natural reflex. She had anticipated every countermove her opponents attempted, using the F-22's agility and stealth systems to full effect. The precision and control she displayed were beyond what most pilots could achieve, even with years of experience. After the exercise, Ariana returned to Langley with the Raptor responding perfectly to her smooth landing. The hangar was unusually quiet as she taxied to her assigned spot. Even Hendricks, who had been so confident in his superiority, avoided eye contact. Calvin's usual arrogance had vanished, replaced by an uncharacteristic respect. The room that had mocked her just days before was now filled with murmurs of admiration and awe. Lieutenant Torres met her as she exited the cockpit. "Exceptional work, Ariana," he said, his tone genuine. "Your anticipation, maneuvering, and situational awareness exceeded all expectations. You've proven today that skill and preparation matter far more than reputation or experience alone." Ariana nodded, keeping her expression neutral. Praise was not her goal. Mastery was. Later, Ariana reviewed the footage of the dogfight in her quarters. Every maneuver was analyzed, every movement scrutinized for improvement. She noted how her anticipation had allowed her to outmaneuver the more experienced pilots, and she committed herself to refining her techniques further. Even perfection, she knew, could always be improved. The next day, the whispers on the base had changed. Younger pilots approached her with cautious curiosity, seeking advice and mentorship. Some of the veterans, while still maintaining their distance, began to acknowledge her skill, though few would admit it openly. Hendricks, for the first time, seemed unsure of how to interact. The confident, mocking smirk he had carried now seemed out of place. Calvin remained silent, humbled by what he had seen. Ariana understood that this was just the beginning. She had faced the first real challenge against experienced opponents and had succeeded spectacularly. But the Air Force had more complex simulations, advanced tactical exercises, and elite pilots who would push her limits further. Today had shown her potential. Tomorrow would test her mastery. As she walked across the tarmac that evening, the sun casting long shadows over the F-22 Raptors, Ariana felt a quiet satisfaction. She had not only flown the most advanced fighter jet in the world, but had outperformed pilots who had years of experience on her. The quiet rookie who had been mocked had become the pilot no one could ignore. Ariana's mind was already focused on the next challenge. She reviewed mental checklists and visualized upcoming exercises. The F-22 was more than a machine. It was a partner, and she intended to master it completely. The respect she had begun to earn on the base was not her objective. Her objective was excellence, skill, and control. The recognition would come naturally, as it always did for those who proved themselves through action rather than words. By nightfall, Ariana sat in her quarters, reviewing every detail of the day's dogfight. She noted where she had anticipated effectively, where split-second decisions had made the difference, and where she could refine her approach for even greater efficiency. She understood that true mastery was never static. It was a continual process of learning, adapting, and improving. The veteran pilot's mockery had been replaced by stunned silence, the kind that comes when skill speaks louder than reputation. Ariana knew they would never forget today, not because she had sought recognition, but because her performance had been undeniable. Every maneuver, every decision, every action had sent a clear message. She was not a rookie to be underestimated. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more complex scenarios, higher stakes, and perhaps even the attention of the Air Force brass. Ariana was ready. She had faced doubt, mockery, and underestimation, and she had emerged victorious. The F-22 had responded perfectly to her skill, and she had shown that preparation, focus, and instinct could overcome even the most experienced opposition. Ariana Cole had begun her journey from a rookie dismissed by many to a pilot whose skill could not be ignored. The mockery had turned to shock, the doubt had been replaced by respect, and the quiet determination that had carried her this far was only growing stronger. Langley Air Force Base would soon learn that underestimation was a mistake that Ariana intended to demonstrate repeatedly. The events of the previous day had set Langley Air Force Base abuzz. Ariana Cole's flawless performance in the F-22 dogfight simulation had gone far beyond anyone's expectations. Rumors began circulating in the mess hall, briefing rooms, and hangars. Whispers of the rookie who had not only survived, but dominated veteran pilots in the most advanced fighter jet in the Air Force's arsenal. For Ariana, the attention was secondary. Her focus remained on preparation, analysis, and improvement. She had reviewed the flight footage in her quarters that evening, noting every precision maneuver, every tactical decision, and every split-second adjustment. Even though she had won against Hendricks and Calvin in the simulation, she knew mastery was a lifelong pursuit. Today's victory was a step, not a destination. Younger pilots, however, were captivated. They approached her in small groups, asking questions about her techniques, her pre-flight mental exercises, and even her approach to handling the F-22's advanced systems. Ariana answered patiently, giving advice without boasting. She understood the impact that mentorship could have. The whisper network of recruits spread the story further, and soon, even those who had been indifferent began to take note. Meanwhile, Hendricks and Calvin were struggling with the aftermath of the simulation. Hendricks avoided Ariana's gaze, the confident arrogance he had carried for years now shaken. He found himself replaying her maneuvers over and over in his mind, analyzing what he could have done differently. But the truth was undeniable. Ariana had outmaneuvered him at every turn. Calvin remained silent, introspection replacing his usual sarcasm. The mocking, teasing, and underestimation that had defined their interactions with her were gone, replaced with reluctant acknowledgement. Word reached Lieutenant Torres and other supervisors quickly. Ariana's performance was extraordinary, and her skill had become impossible to ignore. Today's exercise was more than a simple simulation. It was a demonstration that she possessed instinct, precision, and composure at a level far above what most rookies could achieve. The brass recognized potential in her that could not be trained or taught. It was innate. In the briefing room, Torres addressed Ariana privately. "Ariana," he began, "your performance yesterday has generated attention, and not just from your peers. The base commander is considering putting you in an advanced evaluation flight, one that could determine placement in an elite squadron. Are you ready for that challenge?" Ariana's eyes met his steadily. "I'm ready, sir. I've trained for this. Whatever the scenario, I'll handle it." The opportunity was both thrilling and daunting. Advanced evaluations were designed to push pilots beyond their limits, testing technical skill, tactical thinking, endurance, and the ability to perform under intense pressure. They were reserved for the best of the best, and a rookie rarely earned such a chance. Ariana understood that this was the moment to solidify her reputation and prove once again that she belonged among the elite. Throughout the day, Ariana's focus never wavered. While others were distracted by conversations, gossip, or casual socializing, she ran through mental simulations and visualized every maneuver. She anticipated scenarios where multiple threats would approach simultaneously, considered energy management in extreme maneuvers, and rehearsed evasive actions under different conditions. This preparation wasn't for recognition, it was for mastery. Meanwhile, the base was buzzing. Younger pilots whispered about Ariana's prowess, recounting stories of her flawless flight and the humiliation of Hendricks and Calvin. Even veterans who had initially doubted her began watching her flights with cautious respect, analyzing her style and strategy. The environment around Ariana had shifted subtly but unmistakably. Mockery was replaced with intrigue, skepticism with curiosity, and doubt with a grudging acknowledgement of her ability. Hendricks, restless and frustrated, sought to redeem himself in front of the control room team. He executed maneuvers with heightened intensity, trying to assert his experience. But Ariana's influence had already changed the perception of the flight room. Even his attempts to dominate were met with measured analysis from other pilots, who were now keenly observing her technique and composure. The rookie had become a benchmark. By the afternoon, Ariana prepared for her first advanced evaluation flight. She entered the cockpit with quiet determination, her mind running through tactical possibilities, potential threats, and maneuvers she would execute with precision. The F-22's control systems hummed beneath her hands, responding instantly to her adjustments. Her preparation, focus, and skill converged into a flow state that allowed her to operate with near-perfect precision. The evaluation exercises were intense. Ariana executed complex interception scenarios, defensive maneuvers against multiple simulated attackers, and precision strikes under high-stress conditions. Her situational awareness, anticipation of enemy movement, and ability to manage energy and fuel efficiency were unmatched. Each maneuver she performed was deliberate, calculated, and executed flawlessly. Even the instructors in the control room were visibly impressed, murmuring to one another about the rarity of such skill in a rookie pilot. After the evaluation, Ariana landed the F-22 flawlessly. The control room erupted in quiet applause, a mixture of respect and astonishment. Lieutenant Torres greeted her with a nod of approval. "Your performance today demonstrates not just skill, but instinct, composure, and an understanding of the jet few pilots ever achieve. The elite squadron should take notice." Ariana nodded, keeping her composure. Praise was secondary. The flight had been a personal test, a measure of her mastery. Word of Ariana's performance began spreading beyond Langley. Reports reached higher-ranking officers, including the base commander and even Air Force Public Affairs. A rookie pilot, underestimated by her peers, had achieved results that few veterans could match. Her name was now being associated with precision, composure, and exceptional tactical skill. For the first time, her career was attracting serious attention. That evening, Ariana returned to her quarters and reviewed her performance in detail. She meticulously analyzed every decision, every turn, and every adjustment. Even in success, she found areas for improvement. Mastery was not static. It required constant learning, refinement, and focus. Ariana's commitment to excellence went beyond recognition or respect. It was a personal standard she had set for herself. Hendricks and Calvin, meanwhile, were quietly adjusting to the new reality. They had underestimated Ariana, and the humiliation of yesterday's dogfight lingered. They had been taught to expect rookies to falter, but Ariana had defied every expectation. The quiet, unassuming pilot who had been mocked had now become the standard against which even experienced pilots were being measured. By nightfall, the base was abuzz with speculation and admiration. Ariana had begun to carve out a reputation not just as a skilled pilot, but as someone whose calm determination and preparation could overcome any doubt or obstacle. Her trajectory at Langley Air Force Base had shifted from rookie uncertainty to emerging legend. Ariana, however, remained grounded. She knew that each flight, each maneuver, and each challenge was only a step on a much longer journey. The recognition she was beginning to receive was encouraging, but it did not replace the need for relentless preparation. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more simulations, and perhaps more opportunities to face elite pilots. She was ready. Langley had begun to take notice, and the whispers of doubt had been replaced by murmurs of admiration and cautious respect. Ariana Cole's name was spreading, not because she sought attention, but because skill, precision, and determination demanded acknowledgement. The rookie who had once been mocked had transformed into a pilot who could not be ignored. As Ariana gazed out at the hangar and the lineup of F-22 Raptors, she felt a quiet resolve. Her journey was just beginning, but the foundation had been laid. Preparation, focus, and skill were her allies. Doubt and mockery had been defeated by her actions, and respect was beginning to follow naturally. The sky awaited, and Ariana was ready to claim her place in it. The stage was set for greater challenges, higher stakes, and the next steps in her rise to prominence. The rookie dismissed by many had begun to prove herself in ways that would resonate across Langley Air Force Base and beyond. Her journey from underestimated rookie to a pilot of exceptional skill was well underway. The morning air at Langley Air Force Base was crisp and tense as Ariana Cole prepared for what would become the defining flight of her career so far. Today was her advanced evaluation, a rigorous series of exercises designed to test every facet of a pilot's skill. Unlike previous simulations or training flights, this evaluation pushed even veteran pilots to their limits. Ariana had anticipated this moment for weeks, studying maneuvering strategies, emergency protocols, and advanced dogfight tactics. She knew this flight was more than a test. It was a chance to prove her mastery. Lieutenant Torres gave her a brief, intense debriefing before takeoff. "Ariana," he said, his tone calm but firm, "today you're facing scenarios that challenge experience, judgment, and composure. Every decision will be scrutinized. Your performance could influence future assignments, including the elite air dominance squadron. Remember, skill, anticipation, and calm focus will carry you through. Trust yourself and the jet." Ariana nodded, her expression steady. Her nerves were present but under tight control, her mind entirely focused on the tasks ahead. The F-22 awaited, gleaming in the early sunlight. Ariana approached the cockpit with quiet determination, running through her pre-flight checks meticulously. Each system, each control, and every instrument was verified. This was not her first flight in the Raptor, but the weight of the evaluation made even familiar actions feel critical. She was ready. Once airborne, Ariana began with tactical interception exercises. Enemy aircraft appeared on the radar, simulated but realistic in their speed, altitude, and evasive patterns. Ariana assessed each situation with rapid precision, calculating angles, predicting movement, and executing maneuvers that would maximize her positional advantage. Her fingers moved instinctively across the controls, her eyes scanning instruments and radar feeds in perfect harmony. The instructors monitored the flight closely. Every move Ariana made was noted, from throttle adjustments to subtle changes in pitch and yaw. Her ability to anticipate enemy maneuvers, conserve energy during tight turns, and maintain situational awareness impressed even the most experienced evaluators. One instructor whispered to another, "I've never seen a rookie anticipate like that. She's extraordinary." Ariana's next challenge was an evasive exercise against multiple simulated attackers. Two jets approached from different angles at high speed, attempting to outflank her. Most rookies would have panicked, performing instinctive but inefficient maneuvers. Ariana, however, calculated precise counteractions, using the F-22's thrust vectoring and stealth capabilities to evade without losing speed or control. Her movements were seamless, almost instinctual, as though the jet itself anticipated her intentions. Midway through the evaluation, Ariana entered a simulated high-stakes strike scenario. Targets required precision engagement under time pressure, with limited fuel and complex environmental factors. She executed each approach with measured skill, balancing speed, altitude, and weapon systems with perfect timing. Her situational awareness allowed her to anticipate threats, adjust to variables, and complete the mission flawlessly. Every control input, every adjustment, and every decision reflected a mastery that few pilots ever achieved, let alone rookies. The final stage of the evaluation involved a simulated dogfight against two highly experienced pilots, both veterans of numerous training exercises. Ariana's opponents assumed they would dominate, expecting her to make predictable moves or falter under pressure. They underestimated her preparation, instinct, and ability to process information at lightning speed. As the engagement began, Ariana stayed several steps ahead, reading their patterns and anticipating maneuvers before they occurred. She executed defensive rolls, sharp climbs, and energy-conserving turns with surgical precision. Every countermove she made was preemptive, every positioning adjustment carefully calculated. Within minutes, her opponents were struggling to gain an advantage. Her anticipation, composure, and mastery of the F-22 had turned the dogfight into a demonstration of skill that even the veteran pilots could not match. By the time she concluded the engagement, the control room was buzzing with astonishment. One instructor whispered, "She flies like the jet is part of her nervous system." Another remarked, "I've never seen someone anticipate like that, not even among the elite pilots." Hendricks and Calvin, who had once mocked her, were silent, stunned by her flawless execution. The humiliation of underestimating a rookie was complete. Ariana returned to Langley with the F-22 responding perfectly to her landing. Every touchpoint of throttle, every movement of the control stick, and every adjustment to the flight surfaces had been executed flawlessly. As she climbed out of the cockpit, Lieutenant Torres approached, a mixture of pride and awe on his face. "Ariana," he said, "you've demonstrated instinct, control, and judgment beyond what we expect from any pilot, let alone a rookie. Your performance today is exceptional. You're ready for advanced assignments." Despite the praise, Ariana remained calm. She had flown the F-22 as a master of her craft, anticipating every scenario and executing with precision, but she knew mastery was a journey, not a destination. Her goal had never been recognition. It had always been skill, control, and readiness. Later, Ariana reviewed the flight footage in detail. Every maneuver was analyzed, every decision evaluated for potential improvement. Even in success, she found areas where she could refine her technique, execute faster, or anticipate more effectively. Mastery, she reminded herself, was an ongoing process. One perfect flight did not define a pilot. It was the accumulation of countless hours, decisions, and actions under pressure that mattered. The reputation Ariana had begun to build at Langley was spreading beyond the base. Reports of her flawless advanced evaluation reached senior officers, including the base commander and the Air Force's training division. Here was a rookie who had consistently outperformed expectations, demonstrating skill and composure that rivaled, and in some cases exceeded, experienced pilots. The Air Force brass began taking notice, intrigued by the rare talent that could influence strategic assignments. Meanwhile, Hendricks and Calvin processed the reality of the day. Their previous confidence had been shattered. Hendricks avoided Ariana's gaze when she passed, a silent acknowledgement that he had misjudged her capabilities. Calvin remained quiet, introspection replacing his usual sarcasm. Even the skeptics could no longer deny her talent. Ariana had flown with a level of skill and instinct that demanded respect. That evening, Ariana reflected on her day. She had faced rigorous tests designed to push pilots to the edge, yet she had remained composed, precise, and decisive throughout. The F-22 had responded to her skill perfectly, and the validation she received from the evaluation was not merely professional. It was confirmation of years of preparation, focus, and dedication. Ariana understood that this evaluation had changed everything. Her performance had not only proven her ability to herself, but had also established her reputation across Langley Air Force Base. The Air Force had rare prodigies, pilots with instinct, skill, and composure so exceptional that they redefined expectations. Ariana Cole was now counted among them. The night sky over Langley was clear, the stars glinting like distant beacons as Ariana looked out over the runway. She felt a quiet determination rising within her. The journey from underestimated rookie to a pilot recognized for excellence had only just begun. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, higher stakes, and perhaps even recognition from the highest ranks. She was ready for whatever came next. Ariana Cole's advanced evaluation had confirmed what she had always known. Preparation, skill, and composure could overcome doubt, mockery, and underestimation. She had demonstrated mastery, captured attention, and proven that she belonged not only in the cockpit of the F-22 but among the elite pilots of the Air Force. The path ahead was daunting, but Ariana was undeterred. She had claimed her first victory in skill, and the Air Force was beginning to take notice. Langley Air Force Base would remember this day, the rookie who defied expectations, outperformed experienced pilots, and flew the F-22 with a level of precision and instinct that was nothing short of extraordinary. Ariana Cole's journey from overlooked newcomer to recognized talent had reached a pivotal turning point. The stage was now set for her to rise even higher. The morning at Langley Air Force Base carried a quiet tension that Ariana Cole had learned to recognize. Today, she had received an unexpected notice. A private flight review with a high-ranking general who had heard reports of her extraordinary performance. The opportunity was rare, almost unprecedented for a rookie pilot, and Ariana knew it was both a challenge and a statement. This wasn't just a test of skill. It was a chance to demonstrate to the highest levels of the Air Force that she was ready for elite assignments. As Ariana prepared for the flight, the atmosphere around the base was unusually electric. Word had spread of her advanced evaluation, and even veteran pilots seemed to give her a subtle nod of respect as she passed. Hendricks and Calvin, still recovering from their earlier humiliation, avoided her gaze, their previous confidence replaced by cautious acknowledgement. She had become a figure of intrigue, a rookie pilot whose skill was reshaping perceptions at Langley. Lieutenant Torres approached her with a mix of pride and seriousness. "Ariana," he said, "General Marshall will personally evaluate your performance today. This flight isn't just about skill, it's about composure, decision-making under pressure, and leadership potential. He's known for his attention to detail. Be precise, be focused, and remember what got you here: preparation and instinct." Ariana nodded, her expression calm. She didn't need reassurance. She had trained for this moment and was ready to demonstrate her mastery. The F-22 awaited, sleek and formidable on the tarmac. Ariana climbed into the cockpit, running through her pre-flight checks with meticulous care. Every control, every gauge, every system was verified with precision. As she strapped in, she felt the familiar surge of anticipation, not fear, but the thrill of stepping into the cockpit, knowing that she was about to face the ultimate assessment of her abilities. Once airborne, Ariana executed a series of tactical maneuvers designed to test not just piloting skill, but composure under simulated combat conditions. The general, observing via live feed and monitoring instruments, was renowned for challenging even the most experienced pilots. Ariana knew that hesitation or error would be scrutinized intensely. Yet as the F-22 responded seamlessly to her inputs, she felt a deep sense of confidence. Her preparation had primed her for this moment. The general's first directive was a complex interception scenario involving multiple simulated hostile aircraft. Ariana assessed the situation quickly, calculating angles, speeds, and energy management. She executed a series of high-speed rolls and evasive maneuvers that positioned her perfectly to intercept the enemy without compromising safety or efficiency. The F-22 responded flawlessly, a testament to both her skill and the jet's capabilities. From the control room, the general's voice crackled over the radio. "Cole, your positioning is excellent. Maintain situational awareness and anticipate the next move. Don't react, predict." Ariana's calm voice replied, steady and confident. "Understood, sir. I'm monitoring all vectors and preparing countermaneuvers." The exchange, brief but precise, reflected her focus and ability to perform under pressure. The next segment of the evaluation involved a simulated strike under extreme conditions: high-speed entry, low visibility, and multiple simultaneous targets. Most pilots would struggle with coordination and timing. Ariana, however, executed each maneuver with precision. She adjusted for wind, altitude, and simulated enemy fire, deploying countermeasures and engaging targets seamlessly. Every decision was deliberate, every action synchronized with the F-22 systems. During the high-intensity dogfight portion, Ariana faced two veteran pilots as opponents, chosen specifically to challenge her tactical skills. Hendricks and Calvin, aware that their performance was being scrutinized alongside hers, were determined to assert dominance. Yet Ariana anticipated every move, countering attacks, maintaining optimal energy levels, and positioning herself advantageously. Within minutes, she had tagged both opponents, executing maneuvers that blended tactical calculation with instinctive precision. The general's reactions were subtle but revealing. His calm, measured voice occasionally offered direction, yet there was a growing sense of impressed acknowledgement in his tone. "Cole, your anticipation and execution are remarkable. Maintain composure for the final exercise." Ariana acknowledged the command with quiet confidence, fully focused on completing the flight flawlessly. The final test was a high-altitude, high-speed interception scenario involving multiple simultaneous threats and dynamic environmental changes. Ariana's ability to remain composed under pressure was critical. She executed sharp climbs, rapid barrel rolls, and energy-conserving turns while maintaining situational awareness. Each action was preemptive, precise, and efficient. Even minor adjustments to throttle and control surfaces were executed with exacting accuracy. As the exercise concluded, Ariana returned to Langley for a flawless landing. The control room erupted in muted applause, a mixture of respect and astonishment. Lieutenant Torres greeted her as she climbed from the cockpit. "Ariana," he said quietly, "you've exceeded expectations once again. The general will want a debrief, but I suspect he already recognizes what we all see: exceptional skill, composure, and potential for elite assignments." The debrief with General Marshall was formal but direct. He asked detailed questions about her tactical choices, decision-making process, and approach to energy management during maneuvers. Ariana answered each question with clarity and precision, demonstrating not just technical skill but critical thinking and situational awareness. The general's measured nods and subtle expressions of approval indicated that he was impressed. "Cole," he said finally, "your performance today has confirmed what has already been noted. You are a pilot of extraordinary ability. Your skill, composure, and decision-making are exceptional for someone at your experience level. I will be recommending your placement in an elite operational squadron. You've earned this opportunity." Ariana remained composed, acknowledging the statement with a respectful nod. Recognition was satisfying, but it was the confirmation of her mastery that truly mattered. Word of Ariana's private evaluation spread quickly across Langley. Her exceptional performance was no longer confined to whispers or small groups of admirers. It had reached the highest levels of the base and now carried weight with command decisions. Younger pilots looked to her as a benchmark, while veterans, including Hendricks and Calvin, were forced to reevaluate their assumptions. Ariana's reputation had evolved from a rookie underestimated by many to a pilot recognized for extraordinary skill and composure. That evening, Ariana reviewed the flight footage and notes from her evaluation. She meticulously analyzed her decisions, maneuvers, and performance under pressure. Even in the wake of such success, she found areas to refine, knowing that mastery was continuous. Her preparation, instinct, and execution had proven extraordinary, yet she understood that improvement was never-ending. Langley Air Force Base had begun to see Ariana in a new light. Mockery and doubt had been replaced with acknowledgement and respect. Hendricks and Calvin, once confident in their superiority, now recognized her talent as legitimate and formidable. The base itself seemed to shift, the culture adjusting to the undeniable proof of her skill. As the sun set over the runway, Ariana stood by the F-22, reflecting on the day. She had faced the ultimate test for her experience level, excelled under pressure, and earned recognition from one of the Air Force's most respected generals. The journey from overlooked rookie to recognized talent had reached a pivotal moment. The sky had always been her domain, and today she had proven, beyond question, that she belonged there. Ariana Cole's trajectory at Langley was now clear. The path to elite operational assignments, strategic opportunities, and professional acknowledgement was open. She had mastered not just the F-22, but the art of proving skill through performance rather than words. Her journey from underestimated rookie to recognized talent was accelerating, and the Air Force would soon see just how formidable she had become. The stage was set for Ariana's final ascent, one that would not only cement her reputation at Langley, but set the tone for her future in the United States Air Force. The rookie who had once been mocked, underestimated, and doubted had become a symbol of skill, focus, and excellence. A pilot who could shock even the most seasoned veterans and earn the attention of the highest command.